We've just been treated to an epic battle here in Nolan Park. Galway take the spoils, but only just, and I'm joined by former Kilkenny hurler Tommy Walsh. Where do we even start to dissect that game? It'll be one that will be remembered for a long time.
Yeah, I think anyone that was here probably watching on television would probably agree that was probably the game of the summer. Like, we were all waiting after last year for an epic Leinster and Munster Championship, and you know, there's a good few one-sided games so far, and any of the tight ones there was probably a lot of bunching around the middle, but this was just end-to-end stuff. 320 to 222. Like, it was just an unbelievable game. Scores, goal chances, saves, red cards, it just had it all.
I was actually inside earlier and I was asking Conor Whelan, you know, it was a very different game to what they played a few weeks ago against Wexford, for example. And when players are going into these games, do you know what kind of game it's going to be until it starts? Or do you have a rough idea, we're playing Kilkenny, it's going to go this way, we're playing Wexford, it's going to go that way? Do you have that in your head going out, or is it just literally you go out and then you go with whatever flow shows up?
Yeah, I would imagine that you'd have a fair idea. Like, I'd know from looking at, say, the hurling games over the last couple of years, you play Kilkenny, you play Galway, it's probably going to end up being man v man battles, where talking about game plans, you had to come up with your own game plan. Do you go with your man? Do you stay and hold your position? Do you run into space? Do you time in your run? Absolutely everything. But it was you versus your direct opponent. You didn't have to worry about extra guys, beside you, sweepers and extra defenders and that. No, it was you versus your man, and you to decide where to go, when to go, and everything else. All the skills that you would have learned since you're 3, 4, 5 years of age. And that's what we've seen out there today. And the game plans changed during the game. Like, we've seen Cathal Mannion in the first half scoring 6 points from play. You know, one of the great first half performances. And second half then Kilkenny put Paddy Deegan on him just to follow him around the place. He scored another wonderful point, but in fairness, Paddy Deegan did quite a good job on him. So yeah, I think during a game they can take I suppose on a life of its own, but I think generally when it's Kilkenny and Galway, it's kind of you versus your man and best man wins.
When we were watching the game, there was obviously a few talking points. One of the big ones is the sending offs. Now that you've had a little bit of time to think about it, what do you make of them?
Yeah, so listen, I think just the way refereeing and the way the game is being refereed at the moment, I'd say technically they were probably all sending offs. But I suppose this is where my argument with the game is that I always think a sending off should be for someone that goes out to do something they shouldn't be doing. But if it's a mistake or an old tangle or something like that where it's harmless enough, I think we should try and keep as many lads on the field as possible, as opposed to looking for a reason to put a guy off. Dirty challenges, things like that, or maybe a guy straight through and goal and he's taken out of it on purpose. Possibly something like that maybe, where you could punish the opposition. But I think the three ones today you could make an argument for just try and keep lads on the field.
I suppose, though, to put the other side on it, and obviously we've no official here to tell us why they're being so strict on these things, but I suppose the big thing is because players are bigger now, they're faster. If you don't keep things in check, things can escalate and people can be injured, and that's the main reason for a referee out there, is to make sure that everyone leaves the pitch fit and healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose you could have arguments every way, and that's why I say, mistakes and that we should try and maybe give a lad the benefit of the doubt in that situation. But listen, I suppose you were talking to a lot of the managers and players that were out there today. Like, there was no dirt in that game. It was a brilliant game, and I suppose that's probably the main talking point. The scores, like last year Kilkenny I think scored 211 or something like that, and today they went out and scored 222. So huge positives for us coming out of this game. For Galway, we've been waiting for Galway to spark into life all summer. Now look at the talking points and the podcasts and I suppose the local radio stations up in Galway this week will be taking on a whole new life, because they were outstanding today, and so many great performances. Conor Whelan was sharp all day. Jason Flynn, if you were to go back and look at his assists for many scores and frees and that, Brian Concannon, who got a brilliant goal in the second half, that came from Flynn. He had a chance, tapped the ball over the bar, but out of the side of his eye he saw underneath the new stand, he saw Concannon all on his own, buried it, beautiful pass over with the stick, and Concannon knew what to do when he got the ball, and it was brilliant from that point of view. Cathal Mannion with 6 points on the Kilkenny side. Dahi Burke as well, I have to give a mention to Dahi, because it was kind of his second game back in now after a bit of a layoff through injury, and I thought he was immense there in that second half. Joseph Cooney the same, come back from Australia, barely back. I thought in the second half he was catching balls, and the ability of the Galway guys to catch balls. On the opposite end, I thought TJ Reid, I've seen TJ giving performances, but that was the greatest performance I've seen him given.
One other thing I wanted to ask your opinion on is if you go back to your playing days and remember, and Brian Cody was quite exercised about it there, was that when 4 minutes of additional time was announced at the end, it was over 2 minutes played at that point. So when you're trying to make decisions when a game is that close, that can be quite frustrating. I'd imagine that probably happens sometimes when you were playing.
Yeah, 4 points. So I suppose the argument here is there's probably an extra couple of minutes, but who knows what would have happened. And my, I suppose, argument all the time with referees would have been that it's like I've refereed young lads training sessions and it's not simple, like, and in fairness to the referees, like, one guy and the ball is going so fast nowadays. Like, you go back to the 1995 All-Ireland final, like, I think it was something like 2-8 to 1-9. That was the scoreline. Now you're talking about 222 to 230. So the ball is just flying around. You can't be absolutely everywhere. So I think in general, over the course of a game and over the course of a season, usually these decisions balance out.
We're looking forward now over the course of a season. We're right at the business end now of the Leinster Championship. Next weekend now, these two teams go out again against Galway or against Dublin, and Kilkenny or against Wexford. How do you think that's going to pan out? A simple question, says you.
I'd say Davy is at home now, and I'd say he's rubbing the hands together. I'd say he absolutely can't wait for this. Like, Wexford Park is going to be rocking. MTU have often asked me the question, where is the best ground to go to with the best atmosphere? Wexford Park is just out of this world, it's probably out on its own, and there's many good stadiums around the place, but the Wexford people, when Wexford hurling is going well, they just follow them in their droves and in their thousands, and they're really loud as well. So I'd expect Wexford Park next Saturday night to be absolutely hopping, because looking at the results that can happen next Saturday night, the four teams, Kilkenny and Wexford, and also the Dublin Galway match up in Parnell Park, the four of them can qualify, and four of them can even qualify for the Leinster final. So that's why we're going to have drama at the final game of the season, and we probably didn't have that last year. So, like, I'd say this week the coverage and the nerves and the excitement in both camps and around the grounds is going to be epic.
Well, you've been using Game of Thrones as your metaphor there since last summer, but it's truly coming true next weekend, and we can't wait to see it. Tommy Walsh, Míle Mágat.
Thanks, MT.